would like to welcome is Paris swimming ace Cameron Leslie.
Woo!
And what a highly decorated career. This man from Te Taitokoro, Northland, has had such consistent success, as I was talking about. So 3 Paralympic gold medals in the pool. Now, Cam, we were talking about your debut appearance way back in Beijing, 2008. It was the 8th of the 8th, 08, I remember. We're now 9 months on from Paris 2024. So tell us about your future goals in the sport, where you feel like you're at now.
Kia ora everyone, thanks for having us. Welcome, Andrew, to New Zealand again. Since Paris, safe to say I wasn't real stoked with performance in Paris. 2 fourth placings is the bloody worst spot to finish. Real hard pill to swallow, that one. So coming home from there, I've really gone about trying to just shake up the daily training environment and I guess move forward. I want to go to LA. The intention is to go to LA. I've got 3 young kids, so there's a lot of things that might stop that, but without selling our farm and moving into town and sort of simplifying life a little bit, I don't think making it to LA would be possible. But now we've sold the farm, moved on to half an acre, happy days, life seems way easier. LA's looking good. Daily training is humming. We're a lot stronger in the gym, doing more stuff. Really re-engaged with HPSNZ, and the support pouring into the program has been massively different to what it was in the last campaign, for the better, which is cool. I think I'm in a different space mentally in terms of drive as well. Maybe I'm competitive, maybe I'm a sore loser, I don't know. But let's just say I do not like 4th placing, so let's go about not doing that again.
Yeah, 4th in particular. Okay, I hear you. But was that the motivation for you to make that life change, and obviously your decision as a whānau, so that was all basically directly related to how Paris went?
Yep. We wanted to, coming home from there, I wasn't happy at all. So I was like, nah, I'm better than what my last race was in Paris, so I have to go back and do it again. I think I owe it to myself and for the career that I've had to do it better. So to achieve that, we had to move off farm and just make it possible. The kids have moved schools, so I literally walk the kids to school right next door to us, so it's quite a cool, healthy lifestyle, if that makes sense, getting out in the sun and walking and up some hills, and I'm out of breath by the time I get to the top. And it's been very purposeful in terms of extending my career a bit longer and going through to LA for sure. Everyone keeps asking me about 2032, and I'm, Jesus, that's a scary thought. All right, let's just get through to LA.
But you're making all the right moves, and when you just casually say, HPNZ, High Performance New Zealand, how do they help in terms of resetting your mindset?
I think it's just re-engaging with that knowledge that they've got. Obviously, the providers have changed a lot over time, but so some of the ones who are in there at the moment are just really lively, if that makes sense. They're really excited about the data that they're feeding in, and whilst it might mean nothing to me, it informs another part of the support team, which then informs what they can then pass on to me, which probably has more direct impact in terms of what I do day to day. This morning I did sounds really random, lying there in a bed for 20-30 minutes, doing a breathing test thing to learn about your resting and how your body metabolizes and stuff like this, to inform the nutrition piece to then feed what I then do from there. Obviously, having done a medley for a long time in my career, moving into the sprint races, which is again a purposeful move, being a mature athlete.
Veteran.
Yes. Very purposeful again in terms of the impact on the body. So shorter races. I'm enjoying the training a hell of a lot more. When you've had a long career, to have that sort of enjoyment still at training, I think is really important. So the resting one will feed into the nutrition, which then will feed into me. So obviously being a sprinter is very different to being an endurance-based athlete, so the diet's very different. Probably something I was too slow to make the change on leading into Paris, but also we were doing some endurance, so there's a bit of a grey area, whereas we've cut the endurance fully and we're way more sort of focused on where we are heading.
That sounds exciting. Let's go. I will let all of you interact with each other, but I just wanted to quickly recommend we listen now to Anna Grimaldi, the second Paralympian legend, joining us on stage, 3-time Paralympian and 3-time gold medalist, star performer of the New Zealand Paralympic team at the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games, gold medal in the women's 200-metre T47 and bronze in the women's 100 T47. Everyone probably would like to applaud and congratulate you yet again. Now, talking about that change that Cameron just mentioned, since Paris, you now see yourself more as a sprinter. Is that how you see yourself, or are you still very much focused on both,
Well, I had a similar experience. I came fourth by 1 centimetre in the long jump, which, my whole career I've been a long jumper, 10 years. That was my only event in Tokyo, and I think I wrapped up a lot of my identity early on in my career as being a long jumper and being a gold medalist. And it's been really freeing to, I think before the Games, we kind of had the idea that we would try and move more into the sprints, but I'd only ran a couple of 200 races before the Games, and I didn't really know that we would be able to make this decision to switch focus from such a successful position. Usually it's a risk to change career focus 10 years into your career, but it's been really freeing, and I actually haven't looked, well, that's a lie. I haven't done any jumps since the 6 I did in Paris, and I don't know if I will return to the long jump pit, but for right now, I'm really, really excited for a new chapter in my career, which is crazy to say, yeah.
I'm interested in what you said about how you define yourself as a gold medalist. What does that feel like in terms of pressure? Obviously, there's a lot of reward, but tell us about what that definition feels like. Cameron kind of mentioned it as well in terms of how you want your career to be seen.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about when you asked Cam the similar question, I think if I had been sitting here after Tokyo, I would have said that Paris would be my last Games. I was really wrapped up in, I think sport became about the medals, like what Andrew was saying about how it's more than just the medals. For me, for so long, I think I felt this pressure to be Anna Grimaldi, the long jumper, the professional athlete who looks and sounds and feels and thinks a certain way, and I was just pushing myself to be not myself, I think. I was trying to fit what I thought that should look like, and I think it's been a really awesome journey over the last 3, nearly 4 years. I can't believe it's been 9 months since the Games, but to be in a position now where I'm really excited to be going to LA, and maybe Brisbane isn't off the cards, which it would have been totally a few years ago, but just to have found I guess a greater purpose in why I do what I do, and really an enjoyment that I get to do this all the time, and I don't know, it's been a really cool few years, sort of finding myself outside of Anna Grimaldi, the long jumper, and now Anna Grimaldi, the sprinter, but it's been really cool, yeah.
Sometimes you just need to say the words out loud.
I know, it's still,
I'm a sprinter.
I think often people go, oh, what do you do? And I go, I'm a long jumper, but I'm also a sprinter, and I don't long jump anymore, so I'm not sure, still figuring it out, but it's cool.
And maybe we'll find out in the northern suburb of Brisbane,
Yeah.
Northern suburb of Auckland,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's right. Home games.
Exactly. Thank you for affirming that. And now I'd like to welcome in our third Paralympian here on stage is Adam Hall. Woo. 5-time Paralympian Winter Games representative. Hope you're doing okay in this bright sun today. Claimed a total of 2 gold and 3 bronze medals in a really distinguished career on the slopes that was mentioned as well by Andrew. So at the moment, you are currently hoping, we're looking forward as well to winning selection for the Milano Cortina 2026 Paralympic Winter Games. That's going to be a record equaling 6th Paralympic Games for you. So when we're talking about this, self-definition and goals, is that something that is a driver for you to make that record?
Yeah, Michael and I have been talking behind the scenes. No, absolutely not. When I just finished my 21st season competitively on the World Cup circuit, and when I look back to look forward, I never would have thought that you would last another campaign, what training would be like on my body, how my body would react to the training that I put my body through. And it turns out that the training that I do on a weekly basis with living with a disability has been beneficial for my body. Sure, a lot of athletes and general people out there in the community are living with little niggles, things that crop up here and there, and it's how do you maintain those niggles? And often the best part of that is training, having a good load, or a good understanding of your body and a good understanding of your training load, but also fortunate enough to have some pretty world-class providers and support crew that work behind the scenes to help us as athletes do what we do. So yeah, to be here, aiming to be going to my 6th campaign is pretty remarkable, I guess, and in time we'll have an opportunity to reflect back on, look on it in time, but not to say that it's important during the journey as well, to take a breath every now and again, smell the flowers, and do appreciate the work and the mahi that not just yourself, but the wider team and cohort of support behind the scenes have put into make me, as the athlete, Adam, be the person that I am today, and that goes to family, supporters, and even the general wider New Zealand public is something that I like to always go back to, because as athletes performing on the world stage, on the IPC platform at Paralympic level, or not even at that level, it is the majority on that is on the taxpayer dollar. So it's something as athletes that we are hugely appreciative of. We understand as para-athletes, especially coming from the winter side, winter is often pretty niche, and then when you add in para, it's kind of niche within niche. So it's a very tough ball sometimes to get out there and get exposure. But with having Andrew here and having Andrew's speech this morning as well, and realising that the International Paralympic Committee do have that platform, and us as athletes need to. Sometimes we're our worst advocate. We need to use the platforms out there and maybe be more Australian and kind of be more out there and show ourselves who we really are, not be like this little iceberg that are only kind of showing the 10% of who we really are. So, I'll go off track a little bit and say, I was talking to Cam last night, I went swimming yesterday or the day before with my wife for the first time in a long, long time. She's quite an avid swimmer, and I'm still figuring out whether I'm a better runner or a better swimmer. I'm not quite sure yet. It was quite brutal. So trying to maybe fit something in there for Brisbane for a home games.
Yeah.
If we can get para golf in there, maybe could be an opportunity.
What sort of golf is it?
Para golf.
Right,
maybe
para golf.
Yeah. Some potential maybe. So we'll see. So my handicap is currently 2. I can't hit the ball and I can't get it in the hole. But
Same.
I have room for improvement.
I love that, and such a timely shout out on Budget Day as well. So when you talk about them being ambassadors, you're onto it. But you were talking a little bit about some things that surprised you. What has surprised you in your journey most about your body, your mindset, your ability to achieve?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I suppose a lot of it would come back to, I was 16 when I first became part of a New Zealand para team or adaptive team. I was very young going into Torino in 2006. When you're young and naive and probably a little bit more tunnel visioned, you soon learn pretty quickly from experiences, and you learn from others about what they are doing to be the best in the world, and having an open mindset, a growth mindset, to be able to take on board absolutely anything and everything, and have good, honest, open discussions. And at the end of the day, a lot of the questions do come back to, is it going to make the boat go faster? Is it going to make me perform better? What is it that we can do? Like last week, we were sitting in a room presenting in front of, all my providers or support crew that are behind the scenes, and in a room there's 15 of us, and for one athlete, which is is crazy, because a lot of people don't get the recognition that they rightly deserve. Often we are the athletes that are put up on the pedestal. It's the community that get to see the performances that we perform. They don't often see or get to experience the behind-the-scenes work that goes on behind the scenes, the letdowns, the setbacks, the resilience that you need to be able to not just fall down and get back up, but then to keep moving on. So I think probably just being an older veteran of the program, I kind of jokingly say with some of the older winter athletes that we're the geriatric athletes within the program, especially when you look at the other snow sports athletes that we are trying to keep up with, the twirly-whirlies, we call them.
This is where golf is so obvious it has to come in, doesn't it?
It's just naturally going to fit in.
Yeah. Well, all of you have shared so much, and I love that. Thank you for what you're sharing about your personal stories. And I know that Anna and Cameron, you were both involved in the I'll Give You Something to Talk About campaign for the New Zealand Paralympic team. But I'd like you all to kind of sort of participate in how you think that's changed perceptions of disability, if it has.
I think it was a really confronting storyline for a lot of people. I definitely think it rings true for a lot of my career, particularly getting involved in sport, having a disability, and getting into sport at that time. We're talking back 20, 25 years ago now, wasn't really the done thing. It was always the, oh my gosh, there's a disabled kid swimming over there. It wasn't oh yeah, that's just our club, and Cam swims for Whangarei Swimming Club, and he's just integrated in with they're a Div 2 club. He just trains with all of these people. That wasn't the norm 20 years ago. It was still working in little special groups, if you know what I mean. So the Give You Something to Talk About really gave me a chance to talk about the crappy experiences I had when I was younger, and the way that public sort of were very, they were pretty bloody rude really to my parents. They blatantly said to my mum one time that he shouldn't be at this pool, he should be locked away somewhere else training, or not even training, he should be locked away somewhere else. And that disgusted me at the time. I was only 10, 11 years old, just a little chubby kid trying to lose some weight and get active. I wasn't destined to be a Paralympian at all. I was someone who was just trying to be active. So it gave us a chance to talk about that sort of stuff in those parts. It's part of a particularly part of my story that doesn't often get talked about. We often get sort of caught up in the performances and all the medals and the nice stuff that people like to talk about or hear about or whatever, and they don't like to. We don't often, it's probably not very nice for ourselves to reflect back to the crappy feelings that we had when we first started out, and the low self-belief, the body image, the way that you thought you looked and how different you were to others around you and stuff like that is really confronting. So to be able to come through that and to be high-performing athletes on the international stage has been quite a transformation of our lives, really. Yeah,
definitely. It was awesome to have a platform to talk about it and share experiences. I think even talking to some of my friends and family when I got home from the games, it was stuff I'd never spoken to them about. It was just experiences that I'd had growing up that never came out, or it was never something we ever talked about. So it was really interesting for them to get to witness all the media around the games and hear my story in more depth. And I think it was really special because I guess growing up, I really struggled with the question of what do you want to be when you get older. I think we all do that at school. You do a report or something and you have to talk about it, and I never knew what I wanted to do, but half the class put they wanted to be an All Black or a cricket player or whatever, and I really struggled because I loved sport. I loved netball, I loved basketball. I think I wanted to be Maria Tutaya when I was growing up, or Irene van Dijk, and it just seemed like such a far-fetched dream. There wasn't any people that looked like me in the media and let alone in sports media, and I think it made having that dream really scary and a bit unsafe, and to put it out there into the world felt really scary. And I really hope that by having this campaign, talking about our experiences, but also getting people interested in, being a bit confronting, because I think we've got to do something to put it in people's faces, to get it out there, to talk about it, and and like Andrew said, in sport, but also not in sport. Just this is a gateway into other areas of hopefully all life. That's what Paralympic sport is for me, at least. It's like a window into what we want it to be like all the time, and I think it's been really special, the feedback we've had on that campaign, and to be able to be part of it. It helped me reflect as well, I think, on a lot of my experiences and going forward how I want to help and what I want to do with the movement, and it was really awesome to be part of.
Guess you had to be ready to do it as well. Yeah,
that's right, exactly. I don't think in my previous games campaigns necessarily I was at that place with being really comfortable with being a disabled person. I'd spent, 20 years of my life trying to be unnoticed, and I think finally, and that was a really hard part of my journey early on, like having a success where the prerequisite to being in this job is that you have a disability, but I hadn't really confronted it in my own personal life, and I think, it's been really cool to talk about it and help with that processing of growing up and the experiences we had, and sharing them, because we know other people, disabled or not, also have experiences that are similar to ours. So that's a cool thing about the movement too. It's, it goes beyond.
I think your humour.
Yeah, that's
I think
right.
Your humour helped people too when you talked about flag bearing. Would you like to share that story?
What was it?
Did you talk about flag bearing?
Oh, I've talked about flag bearing.
We were lucky enough to be the flag bearers for the team. I think that was really cool.
I wasn't real keen to carry the flag in front of a big crowd that was on TV and drop the bloody thing. So I was like, you got one hand.
Cam did the first bit with like all the crowd and like the cheering, and I was all hands-free, carefree, and then he's like, here you go. And I'm like, I went to carry it. We had these big like harnesses and
tactical.
Yeah, exactly. Between the three of us, we only had one hand. So like carrying a flag was like not going to be our strong suit, but we made it work.
You're bearing it. You're bearing. I guess that's where the term comes.
Yeah.
And Adam, for a campaign like that, what sort of impact have you seen it make? You were talking about being niche upon niche.
Yeah.
What kind of impact have you experienced, if any? How does it change things?
Yeah, I think here in New Zealand we generally are really inclusive. When you compare ourselves to a lot of other nations out there, even just from a society perspective. For example, my wife was adopted from Bulgaria, so from Eastern Europe, and we've been back there a couple of times, and we're walking around with our disabilities quite actually proud, and but you kind of get this view and this look, and it was similar of Andrew's story in Tokyo, that you're viewed at that because you're out in public with a disability, you should be in some kind of institution. Whereas in fact, we need to have those people out and involved in the communities, and then get into sport and whatever it may be. It doesn't need to be sport, but it does change people's lives and perspective. Just going, I think, back to the being inclusive, like I think having access, having new athletes come through from a grassroots level, having access to, I guess, athletes like ourselves, whereas maybe 10 years ago you wouldn't have that same access, or you wouldn't have that same collaboration. And I think in general we're such a small country, and we have such amazing athletes that always punch high above our weight, that we are a small team across para, across able-bodied, whatever terminology you want to use, that we do and can get around the country, and if you're recognisable or whatever it may be, you can sit down and have those conversations, where before it was maybe a little bit more confronting. So I kind of always go out there, and we were talking again, Cam, last night about some competitions, like if able-bodied athletes went first, if we went first and the able-bodied athletes went second, they would technically be the para-athletes, because technically the word is parallel to the Olympics when we're talking about Olympics and Paralympics. It has no association with disability or handicap or anything like that. When I came through a system back in the day when it was politically not correct, when we had CCS, a Crippled Children's Society, who would run programs. So that's going back a long, long time.
We're giggling uncomfortably, yeah.
It's totally fine when you get a whole lot of athletes with disabilities. It's important to get to a place too, right, where you can have discussions and have a little bit of a laugh. And I think to have a bit of a laugh and a bit of a joke, and to get to that point, it's a journey to get there. But I think it's important as part of personal growth and development to be able to, sure, it's not everybody's forte, but to all be comfortable with it. And we all do it, and come and be part of our environment and get more people in our environment to go on and excel and be part of kind of what we try to excel in our para program at Paralympics New Zealand as one team and one spirit, and lead a way where we can bring more people along on the journey and be an advocate, not just to perform to the best of our abilities, but to show others out there in the community that it doesn't matter what you have going on with you, whether it is a disability or not, you can go on and excel and be the best in whatever it is that you set yourself to, whether it's dreams or goals or whatever it may be. IPC president role positions. I mean, anything. The world is your oyster. You just need to set your dreams high and have goals along the way, and you can surprise yourself. Just never give up.
I love that, one team, one spirit. And because I've realised today that you're a technical person, Adam, you might want to mention how important the coverage is on TV.
So good.
I mean, when I look back to my first campaign, 2006, and even to the athletes that I was inspired to, which were the winter athletes that had gone before me. So we go back to Salt Lake 2002, back to Nagano 98. There wasn't really much exposure at all. There was maybe the old telegram or a newspaper article that was sent back. And when you do look forward and see, you know, the exposure and the different media channels that have gone on from, Vancouver, Sochi, and then Pyeongchang, and recently Beijing, and the exposure from a winter perspective as well. We're trying to catch up there and get the same with summer. It's really exciting. It's a great sport to be involved in. Anything over 10 degrees is too hot, so I can't spend too much time here. But definitely, I think, the stats was, I think, after Beijing, and COVID may have helped with this, is that 1 in 5, I think, was the stat that in New Zealand seen or followed our campaign at the Games. And so definitely, we all have stories, we all have something to be able to share, and if we're able to get a platform, use a platform to get it out there to the wider public, everybody has something in their pocket that they can look at and swipe, and it's a matter of how can we get their attention within literally 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And in a certain amount of years, probably there'll be no TVs in our rooms or houses, and it's just going to be...
Don't freak out.
Social media, I mean, that has changed so much, and now we're seeing so much transition into, AI and how we can, everybody's fighting for a piece of the pie, right? And so how can we get exposure to get out there and show not just what we're doing with athletes, but change the perception and have people out there with disabilities part of the community and not at home sitting on a couch feeling sorry for themselves.
And like you say, parallel, let's consider what is parallel, what is mainstream, and what the opportunities are. Speaking of which, can we follow you all on social media? What would be a helpful thing to do? You all on socials?
Yeah.
Well, give us your handles.
Kiwi Ski Racer generally?
Yes.
Anna Kate Grimaldi.
Camtron.
Camtron,
I remember the coverage thing, thinking of that.
Yeah.
So I qualified for the Athens Games, didn't go, we didn't have enough spots, right? But I remember being at a swimming carnival up in the Bay of Islands, and every night there was a 1-hour highlight package before the 04 Games that was on TV, and that was big stuff back in those days. And I remember every night sitting there watching it, waiting. We'd wait as long as we could until the finals were on. It wasn't even a 1 hour, it might have been an hour. Anyway, it was just before the news, or I think it was. Anyway, I was this 15-year-old, 14-year-old kid watching these highlights every day, and I was so excited to see what had happened and just see athletes with a disability competing and seeing what was possible. That was a real thing that I remember as part of growing up, was seeing, like you say, seeing someone who looked like me competing, and it all of a sudden grew this belief in me. That's probably where that competitive switch got flicked. It was pre-making any international senior team or anything like that. So yeah, the coverage is massively important, and like you said, there's millions watching Anna aspiring to be her. It is true. There are people out there, you might not know of them, but that is true. For me to remember that 21 bloody years ago is a very ingrained
it was a switch moment.
Yeah, I think it's just the feedback we've had from the last Games, and thanks to TVNZ for putting us on, showing, telling our stories. I think we have to be able to have that platform to be able to share who we are and get people interested. If there's not a way to get it out there, we can't get more people interested. And I heard the feedback, the stats and everything, and it was monumental for our movement here in New Zealand to have it prime time as it was happening, with dedicated hosts. And I just think it was just such a, I think it's changed, the movement here in New Zealand. And
do you remember the reporter's name?
I
I don't know.
I can't remember his name. I can see his face. He might appreciate a couple more reporters on the ground, though.
Yeah. There was only one.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Poor
yeah.
bugger.
Victor.
That's it.
He was awesome, but he wasn't like he was racing from somewhere when I won my gold, and he didn't see me till after I got the medal. So it was like a juggle, but they made it work, and it was
situation.
Yeah, it was awesome though. Like I think
the thing
we
is
felt it, we could feel it over there, and I think that's probably been the biggest thing was like we could feel the engagement and people connecting with us, and I think like I don't know, like I hope that like the young versions of us now watch the TV and they watch the games and they watch you next year, Adam, and they like see themselves represented in us. I think it's exciting.
With the Paralympic athletes too, you get very real and genuine people, right? Like
Exactly.
we're not polished, we're not giving you company lines and giving you sort of no personality. Yeah. We're being us and sharing a little bit of who we actually are and what it takes to live our lives with our impairments and the challenges or the successes or whatever it is, right? You're getting some good product.
We tell our stories every day. People are curious as to what happened and how we ended up here, and we just used to telling our stories, and I think like that comes across in the media when we get the opportunity to share our stories, like just how we can share them and who we are, and
Should we do like a TV series with like a media thing of me and Adam playing golf?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the stories will be good, the golf will be shit, but
Road to Brisbane. Yeah. It's a thing. Okay, we've sealed the deal, everybody. This is what is possible. You're all incredible athletes, all incredible people. So thank you so much for sharing with us. I realise you're about to melt under the sun. So
it's getting warm.
What we'll do now is we will close with the karakia that offers this idea from your athletes. A dream fulfilled. Unity has strengthened us. Our ideas have flown, and now they rest. Love and justice guide us still. United, it is done, and we feel the energy. So I'd like to invite you all after this to, have a little bit more kai, have a little bit more to drink, and come and touch the Mauri stone so you can be closer to these incredible athletes. But for now, please put your hands together for these incredible athletes being on stage today. As I offer our closing karakia, he moimoia ko tutsuki, he kotahitanga kua whakakaha, kua rere ngā kōrero kua tau. Aroha me te tika hei ara tonu, ko tahi mai kua tutsuki, tihei Mauri ora. Kia ora tātou, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you all so much. Kia ora.